welcome to the Kimberly Hoyt Podcast today. I can't even say my name today. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm super excited for our guest today, Victoria McDonald. She is my friend, my battle buddy, and I am excited to introduce you guys to her and for you to hear about her journey and to learn from her. So Victoria, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Kim, thank you so much for having me today. It has been a pleasure and a journey, or a pleasure to get to know you, and a journey that we were both on that has lots of kind of bumps in the road and roller coasters to ride. So I am looking forward to getting to know you even better. And as this journey we're on together just gets faster and faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be a wild ride. I can totally tell.
For sure.
So before, as we get started, let's just hear about you. I'd love to know, and our audience to know about you, like where you've come from and kind of your journey into real estate investing. Like, how did you get into this? But also like where you started. I would love to hear about that.
So, of course, my background is actually in pharmacy, so completely unrelated to real estate in any way, shape, or form. But I have been in that space for over 10 years, and I got really burnt out in the corporate world and looking for other opportunities. So I decided to become an entrepreneur as a pharmacy consultant. And through that journey of learning of how to be an entrepreneur and how to be a businesswoman, I learned so many new things. It has been a night and day from just 2 years ago. And so that helped to really open my eyes to all these different possibilities within the entrepreneurial sphere. And one of those was actually real estate. And so I came into Pace's world just by chance. I was listening to a business mentor that I had at the time, and she heavily relied on Pace and had interviewed him a couple of times. And just how he spoke resonated a lot with me. His vision and his passion really resonated. And that was something that I was lacking in the pharmacy world. I felt very capped off, that my growth could only go so far, and then I couldn't continue to grow. A lot of different corporations, they have corporate ladders that you can climb. And I felt like I'd hit the ceiling. And so I wanted to continue to my personal growth in this business sense. And so I added on another business onto my pharmacy consulting and have started to work a little bit more behind the scenes in this real estate investment world, but having that kind of parallel and using the things I'm learning from both businesses grow each of the two businesses.
Right.
And so that's really where I've gotten to today is balancing a whole bunch of different things, learning so much. And it's just like my mind has exploded and possibilities are endless at this point.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, a couple of things resonated with me. You know, it sounds like we were both kind of in that spot where we felt like we were capped, like there was no room to grow, even though these were fields that we had chosen and thought like, this is what we want to do. And I want you to talk a little bit about that feeling of being capped and how you use that to maybe, change or pivot your trajectory.
Of course. So that is a really great question. So that feeling of capped, it didn't feel like it at first, but eventually it felt more like claustrophobia. So I kept feeling like I want more. And as I was reaching out, my hand would get slapped, or my boss would yell at me, "You took too much time talking to a client about a whole new diagnosis that they'd never had of before. You took too long with immunizing a child who feared needles to the point that they were going to hurt themselves." And so just those interactions where I would get my hand slapped for being a human,
Right.
for reaching out and trying to be more than I was, I felt my soul crushing over time. And so that's what I mean more about claustrophobia, is just my world kept feeling like it was getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and that I couldn't do what I knew was in my heart as far as serving people and being lifting other people up. So I had to get out of it. And I tried to work with the system. I tried to work with corporate. I tried to lay down some ground rules as far as what would work for me and what wouldn't work for me.
Right.
And just trying to say, I need to spend more time with my family. I get to be the mom.
Mm-hmm.
That gets to be my first priority now. And I'm shifting that. And corporate wasn't flexible with that at all.
Right.
A lot of people, I don't know if people realize that pharmacists typically work 12 to 14-hour days. And so I would leave my kids in the morning. They're barely groggy, waking up in the morning. Sometimes I would just take them bleary-eyed to the daycare, drop them off, and leave. Someone else would pick them up at 6 p.m. and I wouldn't even see them. I'd go into the rooms, kiss them goodnight, and that would be it. And that would be several days in a row. So that I just like all of this felt like it was killing me and not letting me to be who I wanted to be, who I had envisioned myself being as a young adult. And so I made the change. I said, goodbye corporate. I am figuring out another option. I don't know what it looks like, but I am just going to jump off this ledge and figure out where I land.
Right. You're going to get the parachute on the way down, right?
I will get the parachute on the way down.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I can totally resonate and relate to a lot of that. So, one thing, congratulations on having the courage to step out, maybe in some fear, but in some faith for sure, that there is something more for you. Like you are meant for something more. And it's not to be in that box counting pills and not being able to relate on a human level to someone, the poor kid, right? And like I said, I can totally understand that. Going back to the entrepreneurial space and learning in that world, was there something do you feel like that was like something that you were pulled to all along and finally had the space and maybe the push to get into that? Or is that something that was like totally foreign and you're just like, okay, I'm going to do this? Tell me how that came about.
So that's a really good question. I don't think a lot of people feel like they're born to be entrepreneurs. However, when I look at my children, because I've got 3 little kids at home, when I look at them and their imagination and their ability that anything is possible, like literally anything is possible. My little boy was telling me he wants to fly to the moon, like on his own power. I don't know how, like just not even a jetpack. He's like, I want to fly to the moon. Okay. Don't know how you're going to achieve that, but like literally anything is possible at that stage. But slowly through years of reality or our situations, our visions get smaller and smaller. And so like school would say, no, it has to be a 9-to-5 job. That's what the goal is. Your goal after high school is to go to college. Your goal after college is to get a secure job where you get a regular paycheck, where you clock in and you clock out and you climb that corporate ladder. So no, I had no idea that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I thought I needed to stay in this safe box and just continue to stay in this safety. So it was extremely hard to let go of all of that and say, okay, I don't know when my next paycheck is coming. I don't have a regular source of income. I don't even know if everything else in my life is going to be stable either. So my husband also decided to go on a self-realization journey kind of about the same time and quit his job a month before I quit my W-2. And so we were both like, there was no safety net at that point. Right. There was no regular income at that point. And it just was one of the scariest things that I have gone through to get to this point. And not saying that today's not scary. There's still a lot of irregularity in finances. There's still a lot of not sure when things are going to change, but it's actually, I don't know, it's safe now too. And I am realizing that and accepting that.
Right. So you found that parachute on the way down. Like you found it. It's there. Yes, it's still maybe unfolding, but it's there. So when you heard about PACE and kind of felt like, oh, like he's really resonating with you, you felt kind of like, this is maybe for you. Tell me how that real estate journey has been for you. How did you get started? Did you join some challenges? What did that How did you start in that process?
So when I was listening to like my business mentor and all the different people she brought on, real estate really wasn't in my purview at the moment. It was just like, okay, this is a great guy. He's just talking about something that really doesn't seem like a good fit for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then as I like digested it a little bit more, it's like, okay, that's actually something that seems a lot more parallel. Me supporting and helping people is very similar to the pharmacy world or the medical world, where we're supporting and helping people and lifting them up. I enjoy the community aspect. I enjoy having conversations with people. So that part, like, there's a lot of parallel with that as well.
Right.
And looking to see whether I'm trading medications or I'm trading houses, that's there's a lot of similarities there too. And so I didn't see that at the very beginning. It was very much, okay, two different worlds completely. Mm-hmm. And as I've grown through this, I think my subconscious realized that there was a lot more overlap before my conscious mind did. Gotcha. And so coming to that now, I've been a part of Pace Morby's Gator program for about 6 months now. Mm-hmm. And it is not a 30-day program that, you're in piles of money.
Right.
It is definitely more of a learning and growing, and you get to take action, which is something I had learned with my other business as well, that sitting on your hands, waiting for clients to come to you, waiting for people to know you have an open for business shingle out, doesn't happen. You get to go out and let people know that you exist. You get to go out and be a presence. Mm-hmm. And so that's not something I was used to, though. I was very much used to just hiding behind my counter in the pharmacy and, just happy to be a cog in the wheel for a lot of my career. But now I get to be a presence. Now I get to be a face. Now I get to stand up for moms and get to stand up for people who want a better life and who want to make change, but then still supporting other people and being part of a greater community. So I get to be part of that. But then just like the bumps and things along the road, the two businesses are not identical. There's been things I've had to do differently in the real estate versus the pharmaceutical world. And so just getting to pivot and to learn the language. Real estate is a whole different language. And I still stumble on what this is versus this. I have kind of an analytical mind. So when people are using terms wrong or using it in a different way than I understood it, I'm like, is that right? Am I understanding it right? Or are they wrong? Like, it really frustrates me when there's language issues, verbiage issues, and I get to figure out if that's me or if that's them, and then try to figure out, okay, what was the intention of what they were trying to say. Mm-hmm. So that, like, there's some of those things that are going on, trying to figure out the safe way to do it, because I don't just want to just screw anyone over. That is not my intention. Right, I want this to be a mutual beneficial relationship. Absolutely. And whether or not we can support each other in this moment and move forward, or if it's something that we've created a relationship and we get to maintain it, and then in the future it has a benefit. Like, either way, but I don't have the intention of hurting people or screw anybody over. Right. So I'm not. I hope I answered your question. I kind of went in a really wide circle there.
You're all good. You're all good. So as you came into the real estate space, since that was kind of brand new to you, and it wasn't a way for me. Like I said, I kind of felt like wholesaling was the only way you could do this. When you came into it, especially Pace Morby's world, and you learned about all the different ways you can be an investor, the different avatars of real estate investors, I want you to talk about kind of where you're at with that. Like, what avatar do you see yourself, or avatars do you see yourself as? And was it helpful to know that, like, there's multiple ways for you to be able to do this? Because, like, for me, that was like, oh, thank goodness, So I would love to hear your avatars and how you're showing up in this real estate business, how you're presenting yourself.
So yeah, so just like you were saying that you only knew about wholesaling. I only thought that you could make money by long-term rentals, that you had to buy the property outright, using your own personal credit, and then you had to be the property manager and going for it. And I that was not what I wanted to do. And I didn't really have the funds to do it. It was really something, okay, we're going to save up for it. Something happens. Save up for it. Something happens. And so it was never an option. So when Pace started talking about there's ways to do it without money out of your own pocket, there's ways to not manipulate, but use different resources that don't require your own personal funds. That was just like eye-opening, mind blown. But then to know that there's different ways beneath that to get to the same end, like you don't have to go A to B. You can go A to Z. You can do A to Q to get to Z. You can do like any kind of these squiggly routes to get there, and you still can get there.
Right.
So whether I've kind of tested out a couple of the avatars just to see what works for me. I'm currently testing out the transaction coordinator, and I'm trying to decide if I like that. I do have a lot of attention to detail. I like processes. I like having things written down. You do step A, you do step B, you do step C. I'm also finding it a little bit dry. Like there's not the people interaction. But I crave the people interaction, but I also don't want to do direct to seller, or I don't want to do the cold calling. So there's different things that on the avatar list that I've crossed off and said, no way.
Right.
There's things that I've like circled that are a maybe. And then there are things that I'm going, hey, I do that pretty well. And so one of the ones that I do pretty well, I feel, is a connector. So I'm very organized as well. And so I can keep track of, okay, this person, this is their situation. This is what they're looking for. This is their wants and their needs. And then I can match them up with other people. So I'm creating multiple relationships, networking a lot, and I'm able to match some of these people together. Albeit there's hundreds and thousands of people I haven't yet talked to. And so I've only got a small handful that I'm continuing to grow. But that is somewhere where I really feel I am excelling at currently.
Awesome.
But I'm also in the Gator avatar, which that is more of a transactional, but it uses those relationships to help earn money and to help support people in their deals so that they can get their deals funded. So it's a key player, but kind of on a financial level versus being right in the thick of the deals, being right in that call, or signing the paperwork, or being in the fix and flip, where you're constantly monitoring, okay, what stage of construction are we at? Are we there yet? Can we sell it again? So like I said, I crossed some of those things off, circled some as maybes, and established what of them I am. So right now I'm definitely a connector and a gator, maybe a TC as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, and it's probably going to evolve too.
Yeah,
for
sure.
You might get to the point where you're like, I crave that, interaction, and I am great at talking with people, or, whatever it is. So maybe something else comes out down the line. But yeah, so I think that's good to know what your strengths are, and then be okay with letting go of those things that don't serve you, right? Dean Graziosi talks a lot about like the things that hold you back, that you're not great at, that you don't like to do less of those things. The things that you're good at, the things that you love, the things that pulls your energy level up, do more of those things. And so it's that same theory. So kind of one of the questions that I'd like to ask you, as you've been in this entrepreneurial journey and kind of a personal development journey as well, what has been, or what have been things that you have turned to for advice, for inspiration? Are there any podcasts, authors, things that you gravitate towards that have really helped you move forward in this journey?
So at different stages of my journey, I have had different go-tos.
Sure.
And so one huge go-to right at the very beginning was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yep.
Just the whole idea to how to shift a mindset and breaking out of that. You have to be in that safe space to do well for yourself. I've also, Shanda Sumpner was one of my business mentors, and she has had a lot has helped me a lot with my personal development as a coach, but then also her other resources that she has available. And then listening to 10-Minute Entrepreneur as a podcast, and that I love it because it's little tiny bite-sized bits that I can literally listen as I'm driving to the grocery store. It's something that I'm not having to worry about stopping and starting and stopping and starting, or I have a long chunk of time to listen to. So I really, really love his, and his have been really inspirational to know, because he buys his businesses all the time. He's a madhouse sometimes. But just that mentality and working to get up there. But then Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, I follow their podcasts. Grant Cardone, I have been in part of his masterminds, but then I've also followed him on different podcasts as well. But then Pace Morby as well with Get Creative and Wholesale Hotline. And it just doing. So I do entrepreneur podcasts, I do real estate podcasts, but then I also have pharmaceutical podcasts that I follow. There's White Coat by Jamie Wiley, or Wiki. And then, oh man, I can't remember my other pharmacist ones, but I have like 2 or 3 of each. So I get to rotate through them all. And it's always good stuff that I'm listening to. And then there's personal development podcasts too that I listen to. So it's a lot. And I try not just to listen to podcasts all the time, but to be more action going. So I have pared down actually a lot of the podcasts that I'm listening to. And I usually only listen to about 2 hours a week right now, just so that way I can be more in the action phase and not just in that listening phase. But I do try to take advantage of minutes that would have gone by useless otherwise. So while I'm driving to the grocery store, while I'm taking the kids to their different activities, while I'm driving to work and such. So, I do have a W-2, but I only go a couple of days a week. So I do listen to the podcast while I go to that as well. So trying to fill my day with goodness, but then also making sure that I'm using that goodness to the best advantage I can.
Right. So how are you taking all that information, distilling it down, and putting it into practice?
So usually after I've listened to whichever podcast it is, I try to write down 2 or 3 top notes, top takeaways from that particular podcast and keep track of that. And then using those, how can I sit and think a minute, how can I incorporate that into my routine, or how can I adjust my day to use this new tool I've been given? And so I do sit with those takeaways, figure out how to incorporate them. And which is good that I'm not doing 18 podcasts in a week anymore, that I can just distill it down to these few takeaways. And then that's what my goal is for that week, is to incorporate these new ones. And then my next week, I do a few more podcasts or a few more hours, and then I incorporate over the week. And so that's just my personal development growth going forward with whether it be the entrepreneur, the pharmaceutical, or the real estate.
Perfect. Love that. Love that. The other thing you talked a little bit about that kind of sparked a question for me is, you've got like 85 jobs, you've got 3 kids, you're a wife. How are you taking time to, make sure you have quality time in each of those places and with each of those people, and then also still have time for Victoria? What have you kind of put in place to help with that?
So that has been a struggle, especially wearing so many hats. So struggle is real. I know everybody has heard that, but part of it is when I am at my W-2, I'm only doing my W-2 stuff. When I'm at home while my kids are at school, so my kids do go to public school, during those hours, I am working. The minute they come home from school, or the time before school, that is my kid time. And then they go to bed. And so either before they wake up in the morning or after they've gone to bed is usually my husband and I time, or my personal time. And so that's where I spend, how I kind of do my time blocking.
Gotcha.
And so it's not time blocking per se in like a traditional sense, other than this is my start work time and my end work time. I get to still work on really honing in on time blocking. This is the hour I am doing pharmaceutical stuff. This is the hour I'm doing real estate. This is the hour for me. All right, this is the hour I get to eat lunch, or what have you. And so I get to still practice that. That's something I've gotten so used to, like, there's chaos. There's so many things going on. I got to get it all done now. I just go. And not actually time blocking that. Okay, only gets this much of my attention. Then I get a shift, and this gets only so much of my attention. So I'm still working on that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that also is a huge work in progress for all of us, right? And we can all improve that. I was listening to Ed Milet, and Rory Vaden was on, and something that he said really stuck with me, and I'm sure other people have said it, but diluted focus gets diluted results. And when you're trying to do all these different things all at the same time, multitasking, which we're told we should be able to do and we should do, actually shows, research shows that it's ineffective and less effective than if you take that hour. This is my hour for real estate. I'm going to learn in this time. I'm going to just dive down in that hour. Once that hour is over, I'm moving to something else. And I'm not going to get distracted in there. When you can do that, man, you're going to be unstoppable. You're going to get those incremental improvements for sure. Absolutely. One question I have for you regarding kind of those who are new to real estate investing, what would you recommend for someone who's just getting started in the space? What are some go-to things that you feel like would be helpful for them to get started, or resources maybe that they could look into to feel like they're supported in their real estate journey?
Okay. So through my entrepreneurial journey, I've done several different business mentorships. A lot of them have been different programs, whether it be, here's a computer program that essentially you watch my videos and you do what I say in the videos.
Right.
I've had coaching programs that they had those videos, but then they had a workbook, and then they had weekly coaching calls, and then they had a Facebook page as well. And then I've had ones where we literally sit in a room or I guess not literally, it was over Zoom. But we're in these very intensive masterminds that we're all together for 2 to 3 days. And then we repeat that monthly. So I've been in a variety of different settings, but where I've seen the most benefit to me personally, so you get to pick which works best for you. Where I've seen my best growth has been in those intensive settings where I'm really focused and are forced to be focused on that one task that I'm setting forth. But also in that setting, I also had accountability buddies that were constantly checking in with me. Hey, how are you doing? So we had the intensive, then there was a couple of weeks before the next intensive. So we would have weekly check-ins. So those check-ins and just were small groups. And then I'd have it. One of those people in that small group would constantly check in with me too. And I would check in with her. And so it was like that really level of accountability that helped to push me forward, that helped to say, you are not alone in this, and it's okay. Whatever you're trying to do, we'll figure it out, and we'll figure it out together. So having that community, having that accountability, and having that support from somebody who knew what I was going through, knew what I was trying to accomplish, even though her goals were completely different. Her goals weren't business related, actually. Her goals were to repair her relationship with her husband. And so to have that opportunity we were still working side by side in very different ways, but could still bolster each other up and hold each other accountable. And so that program was only a 90-day program. And so it was kind of sad when it ended, because once it ended, it's like, I'm missing this. I'm missing those weekly group meetings. I'm missing those intensives where I feel bolstered up and so much energy and I know what I'm going to do and I have a plan. And I was missing all that. But then I was able to find or create that, I should say, with other people. And I was able to create not identical, but similar things where I can be a support. So Kim is my battle buddy. We are accountability partners in this real estate experience, and we are holding each other accountable as we are learning and growing. And so then that's part of the building of the relationships as well. And I'm doing different intensives. They're not 2 or 3 days quite the same. It's more like 3 or 4 hours once a month, but doing these intensives still that making a plan, making this growth, having like getting that excitement is really helpful too.
Right.
But like getting that energy to go forward, and then taking that and going and taking it with you to the next one.
Right.
But that's really what has been helpful to me, is having those accountability, having that really group focus, but then also the little check-ins along the way. I really don't think I would be where I'm at if I was just given like a workbook. Here,
Right.
this tells you every little thing. It's exactly what to do. Just follow this workbook and you'll be where you want to be. I don't think that would work for me. I think, like, I've always kind of known independent study was not my thing.
Yeah.
But I really would not be where I'm at. I would have gone back to corporate for sure.
Right. You know, that African proverb, right? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you go together, right? Like when you link arms with other people and you're connected with them in a community, you know, and it kind of goes to, you know, sometimes there's one person that's going to be pulling you along because they're farther ahead or they have more motivation or energy or whatever in that time. And then a time's going to come when their energy is down and then you're going to be pulling them, and being able to have those partners with you along the way is super helpful. But not only that, like it's fun. Like we are meant to be in community with each other and to enjoy each other's company and to celebrate with each other. And so that community is huge. And I mean, I think over the last couple of years, especially with COVID, that has really solidified that for us, that community is imperative. It's imperative. We can't live without it. So I love that. So all you newbies out there, get your community, dive in, get your accountability buddies. All right, Victoria, thank you so, so much for joining us today. This has been such a fantastic time. Now, tell me where everyone can follow you so they can get on your podcast, get on your email list, all those things. Where can we find you?
So first off, one of the best ways to get a hold of me is through Facebook. Facebook Messenger is really where I spend a lot of my time. So my Facebook name is Victoria McDonald PharmD. And then, but I also am very active on Instagram, which my Instagram handle is just SV Rocket, which is my real estate business. And then if you wanted to follow me on YouTube, where I'm having my own podcast, that is, my podcast name is Dr. Victoria McDonald. Nope. Sorry. My podcast name is Dr. Victoria Podcast. And so that is something to subscribe to and stay informed about. And I'm also having some great interviews on there as well, and also some informative bits. But if you're at all interested in the pharmaceutical side of what I'm doing, I know I didn't dive into what that is, but if you wanted to take a sneak peek, my website is drdrvictoriamcdonald.com. So I would love to hear from you all and hear what your experiences are, and stay in touch. Let's connect.
Absolutely. Connect with her, guys. Like she is amazing. She's got all kinds of things going on, as we've heard today, like lots of gold nuggets, lots of info. She can help you in so many ways. So be sure to reach out, subscribe to her YouTube. Again, if you're interested in some of the other things that she's doing, like this girl is on fire. So connect with her. Victoria, thank you again so much for being here with us today. And thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a great one.
All right. Thanks, Kim. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you soon. Bye.